Welcome to another episode of the Happiness Hive podcast. And I've recently met today's guest, Lara. Actually, I'm going to stop it there. Sorry. Stop, pause. Welcome to another episode of the Happiness Hive podcast. And I'm really excited to chat with today's guest. I've recently met Lara Slogrove, and we're both members of a business community. And we've connected through there, and it's been really lovely to get to know Lara, and I'm looking forward to finding out more about her today. Like many women, Lara's kind of looking to pivot her business, but she's doing it on the back of resettling her family in a completely new country, and she did that right in the middle of COVID. Lara's strong, she's resilient, and she said that the experience nearly broke her. And I want to find out all about her journey and how that's where she's at and what she's up to. So welcome, Lara.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here. Thank you.
My pleasure. I really love connecting with women from all around the world. And we're going to dive in a minute to find out where you're living. But tell me to start with, where were you born? Because where you were born is not where you're living now, is it?
No. So I am originally South African.
Yes.
And I come from a very small town just outside of Johannesburg. Very well-known little town, but a little town nevertheless. Yeah. And I lived there pretty much all my life, did a bit of moves around South Africa, but rotated back to my hometown for the fact that I'm a single mum.
Yeah.
And I had two young children, so I needed the support of my family to kind of get me through the days of being a working mom.
Yeah, sure.
So that's why I had to go back.
So your family's living there? Mum and dad still living?
Just my dad.
Yeah.
My mum passed 2019, so quite suddenly. It was a bit of a
Yeah.
You know, we move on, had a good laugh.
Yes.
Always sorry and sad to miss somebody, but
yes, yeah, I know that feeling. So dad's still living there. Do you have brothers and sisters?
I do. I have a sister that lives in Australia, actually.
Ooh.
And yes. And I have a brother and sister still in South Africa as well.
So you grew up in the village? Went to school in the village? You went to school there? What was growing up like for you? What was that like?
It was a normal upbringing. We had a stable upbringing. We were at some point, my mum and dad had brought in my cousins to stay with us because their mum had also passed at a young age. So we were seven, I call us seven siblings. 7 of us youngsters in a 5-year age gap.
Oh my God, your poor mum.
Yeah, I feel for my mother, hey.
Yes, imagine that with 7 in a 5-year age gap. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So those first few years of being a youngster, we were like a little baby preschooling diverse group as it is. And then obviously as we grew up in that, my cousins came in and out of our lives and stayed with us for whiles here and there. But yeah, so quite a normal, happy little life.
Almost like a community of, when they say it takes a village to raise a child, it sounds like you had your inbuilt village.
Yes, you connect on a different level when your cousins actually become your family. So it was quite an exciting time. That was when we were really young, and once we got into high school and that, your life evolves.
Yeah, sure.
Your friends are there, and you find your individuality and your independence and everything else that comes with that. And I'm a headstrong, determined, pain up the neck person, to be honest with you.
Oh my God. So where did you fit in the 7 kids? Where were you?
I was probably on the lower end, but in the middle.
Yep,
so
sure.
I had two youngers, my sister and my cousin, and they are 3 days apart.
Oh, wow.
Then it was me. Then it was my brother and my other cousin, who were also just a few months apart. And then it was my elder sister and my cousin that were also similar of age.
Oh, wow. So it's almost like they had built-in, like
Partners
and things there. So tell me, what was being a headstrong young woman like for you? Was that seen as being a positive element or not?
That's really determined on who you were talking to answer that question.
Oh.
But I think in school and that it had positives and negatives. I'm very grateful and thankful for my mum and dad for allowing me to become so independent and not crushing my soul.
Yeah.
And I've raised my children with the same kind of principle, for the simple reason that it makes you far more resilient. And it's hard. I mean, I see it specifically with my daughter, allowing her to become so independent and fierce and not dampening her free spirit. It's very challenging.
How old's your daughter?
My daughter's 20 now.
Yeah, mine's 27 and same. Like, and the reason I ask you about when you said you were a headstrong young woman, me too. And I don't think that was actually fostered. It was almost seen as being something bad and negative. At school, I got into a lot of trouble. I remember my science teacher. I disagreed with what my science teacher was teaching, and I took it upon myself to tell them that I didn't agree. And then I ended up in the principal's office because I was disrespectful and rude. And it was kind of, but like, and you know, I'll be really honest, I probably didn't channel that very well back then, but it was almost like it wasn't okay to speak my mind. I probably could have spoken my mind a little bit less passionately. Do you relate to that?
Oh, hell yes.
Yeah, yes.
I have seen my time in many instances in the principal's office, and had my parents called in, and and of course my daughter and my son is very good. I have a son as well. He's a very mindful, assertive youngster, so very different to my daughter.
Yeah, same. My kids. How old's your son?
My son is now 25.
So is mine. Yeah, my
really?
son's 25.
Okay.
Yes, and they're the same, but they're different. Like my husband and I consciously chose to raise the children as independent kids and to really foster their individuality and their uniqueness. But sometimes I just wish, oh, bloody hell, don't be so independent and don't be so free-spirited. And I'm sure that's what my parents thought about me too.
But don't you think that's got a huge advantage in life, in that they can stand up for themselves and they're not going to be bullied or pushed into a little corner and said, well, this is what we expect of you and that's it. They can actually go out and say, you know what, I am assertive and this is what I expect out of life, and demand it.
Yeah.
And that's what we all want in life. I mean, we all want to know that we have something to offer and it's of value.
Yes, absolutely.
And sometimes, we don't realize we have something to offer of value until somebody tells you, hey, you know what, I appreciate you for X, Y, and Z. And the person goes, oh, my goodness, I didn't even know that about myself.
Yes.
So, that's one of the things I enjoy about life. And, I encourage my children I'm always saying, wow, you're extraordinary on doing X task or Y task, because in my opinion, in my eyes, they really are wow factors. So
I love hearing that, Lara, that it's about that positive reinforcement. And it sounds like we've had very similar but different upbringings as well. Like, I don't think I saw in myself my abilities until somebody kind of pointed them out to me. And it was like, Oh, okay. That seems pretty cool. But it was through somebody else's eyes. And so I try and do the same thing with just everyone that I possibly can, just to be able to mirror back to them the beauty from within them. So
Yes.
so you went to school in the village. What did you do after school? What was your...
So I wanted to run.
Oh.
I wanted freedom and wanted independence, and I did not want to be under my parents' thumbs anymore. And I wanted to go as far away as possible. And that's strange because they gave me the independence, but I think they gave me so much that I just wanted out.
Wow.
And I remember in high school, I thought, oh, if I could go and work on the yachts or the ships.
Yes. Yeah.
I could travel the world and I could do it for free.
Mm.
So after school, my mum was very determined. Where we were brought up, you had to go and do something after school. So my mum sent us to our local community college, where I had to learn how to do typing, secretarial work.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
And of course, I did that. I bunked more classes than I attended, I won't lie. I was caught many a time by my mother, actually, by accident, going into town and walking into a shop, and my mum would be there and be like, duck behind the clothes or duck behind somebody. But yes, it was a year that we had to go through, and obviously I passed and everything was fine. And I did a few other little courses there. And I remember the defining moment of me having my first adult conversation with my mom, and I decided to put on a pinstriped collared shirt, because that was what I had determined was the business shirt.
That's grown up, yeah.
Yes, it was a grown-up thing. And I walked into the kitchen and I sat down there, and I was very professional. And I said, Mama, I would like to talk to you. Just so there. And I said to her, I want to go and study, because I want to go and work on the ships. And I have decided this is what I want to go and study, beauty technology. And I need to go and do this. And that was the start of my life as an independent adult. I went to go and study at in those days called the Technicon, which is like a 3-year diploma where you do the practical and the theory. And I studied there for 3 years. And then just when I thought, wow, wonderful, life is perfect, I'm going to go and work on the ships, I discovered boys.
Oh, no, I knew you were going to say that. I could tell by your face.
Well, what can I say? Late bloomer.
Yeah. So they were interesting to study.
Well,
I find them incredibly interesting to study. Like, really? What do you think of that? Really? Yeah.
Well, let's just say that was like probably the pivotal turning point in my life. When I kind of put my life and my dreams I want to say on hold, but not really on hold. It just turned, and my priorities changed. And is it fortunately or unfortunately, or the situation ended up that I got pregnant, but only after 3 years of being with my first boyfriend ever. And then my dreams had shattered. That was my son's father, and he actually passed away while I was pregnant with him.
Oh my goodness. Oh, Lara.
Yeah. So it kind of like puts you there, but by that time I was 27, 28 years old, so I was a functioning adult. I knew what I had to do, and of course the saving grace was being pregnant, because that was like I could refocus my attention on protecting my baby and just kind of, okay, I have to move from point A to point B and from point B to point C, and not thinking about too far in the future, just going I've
just got to get through today. Yeah, got to get through today.
And that honestly was my saving grace, just knowing that this is the most important thing I've been gifted, and I need to move forward with that. And, by the time my son was born, I had kind of had to go through the grieving process. And then his birth was like the rebirth of life.
Oh, wow. I've
What
got
was like,
goosebumps. I've got goosebumps. Yeah.
yeah, and then life went on. And I decided to jump back into the dating pool because I thought, I can do this.
Yeah.
And that was a big mistake. One says it takes more than one time to make the same mistake to realize that you shouldn't be making that mistake. And I'm a hard learner. I believe, give a person a second chance, a third chance, a fourth chance, because, sometimes we all have to learn, grow, and develop.
Yeah.
Well, clearly I made the second mistake and I got my daughter. And then I decided, no, we can't do this. We are being foolish and stupid. And I'm now getting old. I'm in my 30s and you're still behaving like a 20-year-old. And it's time for my self-sanity and growth and where I want to be in life to stop this. So we parted when my daughter was 6 months old.
Wow.
And then we became a family of 3.
Gosh.
And then my priorities started to get really serious in like, I am a mother, I have responsibilities. So all the things I did as a youth kind of fell away and I became quite responsible.
Yeah, because you had 2 little ones there. You had 2.
Exactly.
That you were you were the grown up there with the kids.
Exactly. And they brought me so much joy when they were younger. When they got to teenagers, not so much.
Do you know, I don't know about you, but the aliens came and got my son for maybe about only 12 months, 2 years, but he was just a rotter as probably about 12. But then he's been beautiful ever since. So yeah, he was just abducted by aliens, I'm sure, at that age.
But my son went through more of a quiet phase, and they said to him, he locked him in his cave. He literally came out of his bedroom to eat. And asked where his food was.
Yes.
And that was it.
Yeah.
For about 2 or 3 years, that's the only time I ever saw him, was when he was hungry. So we just left him in his cave.
And let him do his growing up.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. My daughter was very different, though. My daughter is what we would call a defiant youngster.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah.
So, yes, challenging and demanding, and I love it. I hate it, but I love it.
Yeah, no, I get you. I get you.
She has never been scared to stand up for herself in any circumstance or situation, and she knows what she deserves enough, and she will question it. And it doesn't matter if you were her school teacher, her hockey coach, her any extramural activity she took part in, she would question everything until she was happy that your answer was better than hers.
Oh gosh.
And so and you know what I did is I actually, when they were young, I remember saying to my children, because I used to, being defiant and straight headstrong, you kind of like dictate to people, this is what I want and I expect and do. And I said to my children, at one point, the easiest answer is no, just say no. And I said to my children, if you feel that my no is not deserved, and you can argue a point that will convince me my no should be a yes, I will sit down and listen to you. But do not have that conversation when I'm angry with you.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes. So my children learned. I mean, we had a lot of stumbling blocks to get to that point, but I wish I had implemented perhaps in a better way, because my children could come back to me and say to me, Mum, yesterday or this morning, you were really angry and the way you spoke to me was really hurtful, and it's created that I don't want to come and speak to you, and you made me angry inside and not feel worthy, or, whatever the case was. Or, I really want to go to their party because of, and they would give me the logical explanation. And I thought, oh, I perhaps overstepped my bound over there, and I could have given the freedom. So I think it's about communicating at a young age. And we I think if I had known what I knew now, I think I would have probably brought up my children a little bit differently, and definitely given them far more love. I think it was
interesting, isn't it? It's interesting. And I can hear what you're saying there around reflecting back on how you've brought them up. But my belief is we do what we do with the resources that we have at the time. And I think that's beautiful to be able to reflect and go, oh, maybe that, I could have done things differently. That's like when I was sharing with you when I was at school, like I was very spirited and, I think I could have channeled the way that I shared my views of the world. Would I do that now as a 57-year-old? No, I wouldn't. I would still speak up for myself, but I would do it in a much more considered way. Not that I know the best kind of thing. So I think we do what we do because, you weren't doing it out of malice. You were doing it out of where you were at in life and probably modeling that you had and things as well.
Exactly.
And I think it's a great, I'm reflecting on my daughter at the moment. So she's very similar to me, but she's also very different to me as well. And she's very determined, very headstrong. And I can see elements where, that is just going to get her so far in life. But I can also see it being a blocker for her as well because she is so headstrong. Sometimes it's like, well, I will do it this way regardless. So she has to learn her own kind of journey as well.
That's probably the hardest when you sit back and you look and you go, oh, I know what's going to happen there, but let's just wait and we'll grab you if you fall.
Do you know, I find that really interesting, Lara. I do find that as a more so as a mother than because I have a vested interest in the kids. But it is their life, and it's about where is that fine line of offering advice and guidance versus letting them experience and have their own. I do have challenges with that, just knowing when to and when not to. And
what I have found is that my daughter, I've left her to her own devices.
Yeah.
And when she has really, really needed support, I did not realize it, but she did turn back to me on her own accord and did come back to me to ask for advice. So it does happen. It's just to get through that up and down until they realize that actually mom does have some good advice. So I think that our children actually do listen to us. They might not acknowledge it and they might pretend they have deaf ears, but I do think they hear you. And at some point in their lives, it does come back. So I think the best
I 100%
the best advice I can give is be mindful of what you say to your children when they start to communicate with you. And I mean that from a young age, 4, 5, 6 years old. Always encourage them the love aspect of life and how awesome they are. The more you can tell them how great a child is, the more they believe in themselves and the more they achieve in life. And, use your negative words very carefully, but still be assertive so that they have goals, ambitions, and drive in life. And I mean, that's a fine line. I wish I got it right. Hindsight is always the best thing.
Hindsight's good. Hindsight's good. And it's also hindsight, I think, is good to look at the bits that we did do well, raising.
Yes.
My goal was to raise, independent humans that can contribute to society and be good people. And I look at my kids and they have excelled. Maybe I've excelled, they're awesome. They're awesome. And it's also, I've been very conscious in a lot of my parenting, some of it was just like, holy shit, what am I even doing? Like my baby, Ellie was the first baby I ever held. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing here. But we get through it. We get through that. So
we all grow and learn.
We all grow and learn. So tell me, what was South Africa like growing up? What was as a country, we're pretty.
It's a great country. I'm sure everybody understands and knows the whole political background and where we were and when we came out of apartheid and that. And when we came out of apartheid, I was a really young adult. I was probably in my late teens, early 20s, still studying. And I had grown up in a family where my dad had a business and worked with different races. So for us, it wasn't strange or change in society.
It was just part of your.
Yeah, it was, my dad can speak Fanigalore, which is like a language of all the black languages together. So he could communicate with them. We had them over at our house and stuff. So it wasn't for us too strange.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
And when they abolished that, and Nelson Mandela was released and the whole big thing, there was transition, and we were all very hopeful in that. And I mean, I only immigrated. Can I tell everybody? I've immigrated to Portugal.
Now, yes. To Portugal, yes. So I want to get. So this is we fast forwarded. Yeah.
In 2021.
So 2 years ago.
Exactly.
You immigrated, you've packed up, you packed yourself and the kids up. Tell us that experience, because this is an ordeal. Tell us that whole process of getting there.
Yeah, so I'll just quickly shoot back onto how I got here. I'm a South African diehard. I love my country with all my heart. It is probably one of the most beautiful countries I've been privileged to live in. And I realized after 25 years of our new government that it's not where I want my children to have an opportunity now. It became quite obvious. And I thought, we need to make a change. I need to be able to give an opportunity to my children. So I had a very successful business. I was sorted. Everything was done and dusted. I was just living my little life. And I decided, okay, my daughter had matriculated. She went off to the Netherlands to be an au pair for a year. My son had started his business and was doing quite well. And then COVID hit.
Yeah.
And while we were in there, I was contemplating life and everything. And somebody said, had I tried immigrating to Portugal? So I was like, no, let's see. Submitted our paperwork in the... I know we had a family discussion in the November. So while my daughter was in her final year exams, and we were like, let's try it and see what happens. That was in the November. We landed in Portugal at the end of June.
Oh, so 6 months.
It was 7 or 8 months from the idea to the reality. In that 8 months, we sold up everything. I was working literally. My clients did not want me to leave and go. So it was very difficult on that ground. I just lost my mum the year, my dad, and all the unknowns were around us. And it was, if we don't do this now, we're not going to do this. It was just a very hard choice in life. And I thought, it's something that has to be done. It's probably frowned upon by everybody, and we've just sold up everything. My house is still in South Africa. It's on the market right now, but we came with suitcases and that's it. To a country I just knew was somewhere up north. I didn't even know where Portugal was. It was very sad. My geography was not very good at school. I apologize. I've learned a lot about
Portugal because somebody else had moved there, or what was?
No. It was just the fact that it was a opportunity where I thought, let's try and see if they will accept me. I mean, I'm age against me. I'm 50. So when we applied, I was 50. So I tried to go into Australia and New Zealand and the UK. I mean, they just...
We weren't in COVID, we just shut our borders. Australia just was locked down. Yeah.
Everything was just a problem, and this was one of the countries that allowed it, and we just managed to get in here. So very grateful and thankful for that. Almost 2 years. Was it 23 months ago? Looking back, it was tough.
Yeah, because the move itself, but that would have been right in the middle of COVID. Was that right in the middle of COVID?
in the middle of COVID. Even when my daughter went to the Netherlands, I have to tell you this story because it was so crazy. It was also in the middle of COVID, and I remember working in my therapy room, and I heard her screaming with like joy from her bedroom. She had just got off a phone call where the agency she had gone through had said if her visa was in her passport, ticking box it was. They have opened the airports, and if you wanted to, they could book your ticket and you could fly out. And she had to go for a COVID test, and if she was negative, she could fly. And we were like, within 2 days, she'd left.
Oh my God.
I was supposed to go on holiday. We were going to have a family holiday, a little goodbye to everybody, and, just do things. All of that just went poof.
Oh my goodness.
She climbed on an aeroplane, and when we went to the airport, because it was COVID, everything had changed, and internationals wasn't where it was, and you would walk there. And I mean, we walked all the way with her because she was young. She'd never been on an airplane in her life before, and I'm sending her across, across the freaking continents, And by the time we realized, okay, she's in and she's not going to be held up by customs or whatever the case is, me and my brother, her son,
your son,
brother, looked at one another and we were like, oh shit, she's gone. And it was, but we didn't really say goodbye because we were so stressed and so busy. I mean, we were running around packing, and I mean, there was no time to even cook a meal. It was crazy. And she was gone. So when we came to Portugal a few months later, we were just as like, it was crazy because did you have COVID? Did you not? We got COVID. So we had delays, and then you're out of your house, but you're not in anywhere, and you're in limbo, and you're in isolation. And then when you arrived here, we had a 36-hour commute from door to door. We were exhausted. We had these masks on for 36 hours. It was ridiculous. We got into our new little apartment, and we couldn't go out and get shopping, because we weren't allowed to leave. We had to be in isolation. And because we were traveling from a foreign country, we weren't allowed to leave. Oh my goodness, it was an absolute challenge.
So did you know anybody there?
No. So we were lucky enough the lady that rented us the apartment for the first month had obviously realized this was a problem and had offered to buy us our groceries.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, thank God for that. She would come and drop off our little groceries every now and again for us. And we just hibernated for 2 weeks in a fantastic country where we couldn't leave. And it was daunting.
Yes, I can imagine. So this was you and your son, and was your daughter still in the Netherlands? Yeah.
Exactly.
So you had to pack everything up. You had your suitcases.
Everything. Yeah.
Moved into the apartment. How did you organise the apartment? Did you just do that online?
Well, that was an interesting scenario all on itself, because what happened is we thought we had an apartment arranged. And 48 hours before we were going to leave South Africa, they phoned me and told me that Portugal has lifted COVID and they're now going to rent out the apartment to the UK holidaymakers. And sorry, they don't have an apartment for me.
Oh my gosh. I can just feel the stress. I can feel that stress.
I laugh at it now, but it wasn't then. No. But I have a very big and strong belief in good karma and bad karma. And I just thought, you know what? It's meant to be, and we'll figure this out. I had a very good network of clients that were Portuguese in South Africa, and I reached out to them and I said, guys, this is what's happened. Anybody can help me. Anybody knows somebody. And lo and behold, within 12 hours after putting my request in, I secured a new apartment.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
Done and dusted. So, the karma of the stress was minimized by going, you know what? These are circumstances I can't control. We will get there and it will fall into place, because things that happen easily will continue to happen easily. And if you have a positive mindset like that, it will.
Yeah.
You should not doubt yourself. If a person speaks negative and self-doubt, you will create self-doubt. But if you can speak positive into your life and take everything as an exciting adventure and not a challenge, I mean, it is. So yes, we are here in Portugal now. It has been challenging. I won't lie. Not so much for myself, but getting my children's documents and paperwork going, because in Portugal, COVID has been a lingering and still remains a very lingering immigration nightmare. But in saying that, I have managed to secure and got all my family's documents sorted out, and so we're there. But it was a very, very challenging time, and you need to dig deep down for inner strength, and know that you will succeed. And the worst that's going to happen is you're going to breathe and wake up tomorrow and carry on. And every day you're going to carry on doing that, so long as you're taking one step forward. Doesn't matter how big the step is. It can be like just one little toe step forward. So long as you're looking forward, it will eventually work out. But you have to move. You can't stand still and say, but it's not working. You need to have action to create success. And I think that's really key in where we are today.
Gosh, I love, like, I can feel the stress when you were talking about it. But when you were saying that, you couldn't do anything, that they're renting out the apartment and you could do a whole meltdown around that, but that's not going to do any good. So using your networks, and what I'm picking up through this whole chat, Lara, is that resolve, that strength of character that you have, right from a spirited young girl in the middle of the 7 siblings and cousins, and through school, and being determined to get onto the yachts, but life kind of throwing you some curveballs. It was almost like I can just pick up that strength that you have, that inner strength that you have, and being able to then use it to help you get through that adversity. I can absolutely pick that up from what you're saying. So what's your business? What are you doing in Portugal?
So I am a massage rehabilitation therapist, and had a business like that in South Africa. And when we came here, it was just a natural progression. It doesn't matter where I am in the world, I will always have clients. But COVID has been such a blessing to me, because it has allowed society to know that online is normal, quite achievable and acceptable practice. And I'm a little bit of a lagger. I'm not the person that heads out and creates new visionary things. And I've been watching this and looking, and I thought, my hands have a time limit. And I'm now in Europe, and I love it here. There's so much to do and see, and it's so safe. I think, just knowing that you can go out with another lady on an adventure for a few days, or, you don't have to worry about your safety, has made me want to do more things. And I'm wanting to take my business online. So I'm in the process of figuring all of that out and taking it online. And obviously, I still enjoy and love the physical touch, because it does have a huge amount of power. But I can help so many people with physical in online work. So I'm in the process of going online.
Oh, I love that. And I think that's also like the strength. You sound very determined, that when you kind of put your mind to something, you're able to make that happen. So it's lovely to hear that, it's almost like this rebirthing again. You talked about when you had your son, that was an opportunity for rebirth, and this sounds like it's another stage of life for you, and making the most of it. And one other thing I picked up, Lara, from what you were sharing is, even though there has been adversity, you have referred to each of those elements as being a gift that you've actually seen the gift that has been presented to you. So even though, yes, it has been hard, you haven't kind of gone, it's all too hard. You've gone, yeah, this is hard, but you've actually seen the gift in what you've been given in life. And that's beautiful to be able to see it that way as well. What do you do to fill your cup? What fills your cup?
My work.
Your work, yes.
I don't have a 9-to-5 job. I have a job of love and passion, and that fills me up. So I don't need anything more than that.
That's lovely, because you get to connect with people, you get to help people as well to with their physical ailments and elements of life as well. So you're actually giving of service, and that's beautiful to hear that. Where can our listeners find you?
So the best would be is probably on Facebook.
Yeah.
As Body Zest. That's my business's name.
Yeah, lovely.
Yes. And they can just send me a message or a WhatsApp.
Yeah.
I'm not very good at phone calls because I'm working, but a message and a WhatsApp. And then as soon as my website and the online stuff becomes available, it'll go up on my Facebook page, and we'll let everybody know how I can help them on a worldwide scale and not just a local scale.
That's great to do that. So, and all your details will be in our show notes as well. So the listeners have got access to the show notes. So that's fantastic. And it is like the podcast is international. So there was somebody that I'd heard the other day listening from China. So I'm not sure you'll have a Chinese, someone from China,
so
but you never know.
English, I'm good.
Yes. Yeah. So you just never know. And I think it's a beautiful opportunity just to be able to share where you're at. And people, what I'm finding too with the podcast is the pearls of wisdom just drop. Like I get lots of feedback where people say, oh, I was listening to the episode where you were talking to so-and-so, and it just really resonated with me, and it just made such a difference. And you just never know. I never know what people are going to pick up on, but there is so much goodness, and just it's lovely just hearing other people's stories, just to be able to motivate and help us to live our best and most beautiful lives. So Lara, thank you so much for sharing your time. And I know that you've got it's morning time, Lara's recording, evening time here in Australia. So I really appreciate you getting up early for this. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me here. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and thank you for reaching out. And anybody that's listening that wants to stay in contact and up to date with what the Happiness Hive's doing, just jump onto my website, thehappiness-hive.com, join up to the mailing list and share lots of tips. And there's also, we share the podcast episodes as well. So thank you very much. Hugs and happiness. Bye-bye.